So I was thinking about how with endless scrolling and all of this manufactured outrage, we're being taught to react.
Yeah, I think that's by design. And the Trump administration keeps it coming with something crazy and new every day for you to react to.
And I know what you're all thinking. And today we are not talking about what's in the Epstein files.
It's more like using them as context for larger conversations.
Right, because I do think there's something to be learned about the situation, about how we protect ourselves and our kids, and how we think about the bigger picture, for sure.
Yeah, I think that's real. And so, as usual, we'll investigate it as both parents and professors.
Yo, parents, yo, parents, yo, parents and professors. Yo, parents, yo, parents, yo, parents and professors.
Welcome, everyone, to episode 66 of the Parents and Professors podcast. I am Dr. Marjorie Dormy Williams.
I am Dr. Michael Stephen Williams.
And today we're not talking about the Epstein files, or we're not talking about what's in the Epstein files. I think that's probably a better way of putting it. But instead, really what we can learn from this situation and this circumstance. And I was really excited because we started talking about this and one of the no taboo words came up. And I was like,
which one are you talking about? There's
critical race theory. Dun, dun, dun.
Well, I think that's the strategic dismantling of things like critical race theory are intentional because they give us language to talk about things like not the Epstein files.
Absolutely. And I also think that there is value in thinking about how we protect ourselves, protect our kids in potentially unsafe situations.
Yeah, I thought the word that you were looking for earlier was coercion.
That's their favorite. What are you talking about? It's like Pee-wee's Playhouse. Yeah. Coercion is the word of the day.
Coercion and critical race theory in the same episode.
That's the words.
Where else you gonna get bars like that?
From your co-parents, colleagues, and collaborators.
Yeah. So, disclaimer necessary. Where's it at? You read that.
Yes. So
read that immediately.
Before we go any further, this podcast is for educational and entertainment purposes only. We're not lawyers. We're not therapists, although I have a social work degree. We're not giving you professional advice. We're just two parents and scholars and people who have learned some things and want to share it as we go.
And I want to put out a additional warning beyond what we would normally do. Talking about the Epstein files, even tangentially, is wading into heavy waters. And so the conversation is probably not one that you want to necessarily be consuming in front of small children. Maybe some middle schoolers, because they'll ask you questions and you'll clarify.
They're also on, Pornhub.
And they also know how to get to this news. And I'm sure that they're talking about it in uneducated ways. And so maybe we can think about ways to expand the horizon. But yeah, this can take some turns. And so we want to offer some commentary and some resources, but also the appropriate warning.
Yeah. So it's interesting to see how much airtime this story has gotten. And I feel like every day there's a new atrocity or some horrific detail being shared by people, by white men in positions of high power, politically, economically. When we think about business and the people who are in charge of our governments.
How do you disentangle power and money right now? And is that even possible?
I see what you're saying, particularly in the United States. That wasn't always the case. No, that's not true. I think it hasn't been as extreme. It's really extreme right now.
Is it extreme just as an artifact of Trump and that's what he trades in?
No, because
or has it always
not
been
just
extreme?
him.
There's just a more hidden version. So,
right.
When Microsoft is donating to presidential campaigns, there's still influence being exerted. It's just not as blatant.
I think that's part of it. It felt like at once upon a time, there were limits to how these people, companies, money is used to essentially dictate social and public policy, economic policy, period. And now, like you're saying, it is explicit and blatant. And I think when I see names popping up like, the prime minister of this and the secretary of this and all the president of this country, I'm not saying this country. I just meant, presidents of countries are showing up in these files.
Yeah, I think there's an interesting commentary on civility. It's something I've just been thinking about, and some of our topics have me kind of sitting with, because I don't think the system is working any different than most of your average run-of-the-mill black conspiracy theorists would suggest. Like they've been getting away with this stuff.
Oh, true.
They've been like power and money has always been able to rinse the stench of accountability off of old white men if they're rich.
So I think that's part of the concern, right? Like there is all of this attention and outrage, and we know that's what the algorithm thrives on, right?
It's
And
eating
so
it's turning it into dollars. I had that thought.
I just imagine like some kind
think
of
of a
blob
video
monster.
game. I think
Yes!
it's like a Pac-Man type game.
It's like getting
And
bigger and bigger.
Every click and every retweet and every post is just getting fatter, and there's a cash register sound
the
behind
dollar signs
every
in the eyes.
nugget. I think that we need to continue to delay the what do we do about this episode, only because I need to gather even more information, because every time I go back to primary sources and social commentators who I trust academically, I'm left with, if incrementalism isn't really possible because they've so broken the machine that you can't possibly disentangle power,
Right.
money, and politics.
They can't play around the edges.
Yeah, but the people who have all the money have already sold it to the politicians.
Oh, the algorithm.
Well, yeah, like so. If you think about
so
the
are you saying
algorithm-
that? So in addition to manufacturing outrage, potentially there is collusion, or right? The reason that we're seeing so much of this now is as an intentional distraction, right?
Could
that
you?
it's
Oh, absolutely. And could you think of something more profitable to social media on all sides of the political aisle
then the drip drop of the Epstein files.
drip drop of the Epstein files, but like Trump's presidency, period. And
Oh.
every controversy that's connected to it, the fact that there's literally like, fam, let's just count. Can we even count backwards in controversies right now in Trump?
I've lost track.
So,
It's February.
What was before
11th.
Epstein? The resurfacing of
ICE
Epstein, 'cause
shootings?
Epstein is always
ICE
been
is
down.
shooting people.
Okay, ICE is murdering people.
Yes.
Right before that, he went and tackled the president of
He
Venezuela.
definitely did.
Right before that,
What happened to that, by the way?
we don't know. We lost sight of it. That's the scary thing. We lost sight of it because now they just dumped millions of files.
So one of the things that I thought in response to this dump of information is
Don't read it.
no. And in fact, I'm not doing that homework. So like you guys can,
I feel like that's a matter of self-care.
yeah, no, thank you. And even the little snippets that I might come across, you're getting no more than like 10 seconds of my time. But I do think one of the things that's concerning, and I appreciate you listening, because it's not just this, right? It's this constant barrage of, over the top, unprecedented, just crazy things happening. And
I was like, you could nickname it crazy work.
as the kids would say.
Yeah, I was like, this is crazy work.
But scientifically, right? Like
The president's an op.
It's the biggest op.
Yeah.
There is this concept of outrage fatigue, and essentially repeated exposure to outrage-inducing news or events or situations leads to emotional exhaustion.
Oh, you know that, sadly, because I've had some of the roots of the show come into my heart. I was like, it sounds like getting divorced.
Oh, tell me more.
So when you're thinking about outrage fatigue, there's a point where no matter what, if you've made the decision that you're getting divorced, there's nothing that this person can say or do. And it's like,
You're done.
yeah, in every way that they try to say anything, it's like, do you have to breathe on every breath? Like,
Jesus, I hate the way you chew.
yo, outrage fatigue is a real thing.
Okay, so
And so I could think about that because I was like, I'm always tired.
but there is a mental and physical toll to this constant barrage. And on top of it, because there's always stuff coming at us, we have no capacity to pay attention to things more than 2 seconds. And I say often, unfortunately, America has the attention span of a goldfish because
Goldfish is generous.
you said squirrel, and I was like, that felt very generous.
I wasn't even really doing squirrel. I was doing the dog from Up.
Oh, squirrel.
Exactly. That's so. Let me paint that picture a little bit more clearly.
I do feel concerned because if we're constantly just drawn into, oh, here's the next thing. Here's the next thing. Oh my gosh, I can't believe this. What does that mean for the work that's left to be done? Right? Like ICE officers are still doing what they're doing.
Yeah.
Like they just actually is that true? I was about to say like they haven't shot anybody yet, but I feel like that's not true.
I mean, Minneapolis is still occupied.
Wasn't there a woman shot in Chicago?
Here, perfect case
So
in point.
right, and it's like, oh, but Epstein. So we have to pay attention to that. I just think that instead of getting wrapped up in the details of everything, and it's not to say that this isn't an important issue and shouldn't be addressed. I absolutely think it should. And I have many questions about how our systems have enabled this behavior.
I think it's all the different systems working together at the same time. So I was starting to talk about this, but I think your setup has kind of helped me concretize it in my mind. How sometimes I feel defeated because every aspect of the evil that's taking place right now is deeply connected to each other. So social media is like one of the easiest places for you to get outraged.
Mm-hmm.
They feed our kids social media through these handheld devices and these screens that they're putting in our schools.
And us. We are part of the problem.
When we know, and all research points to the fact that screen time is actually like destroying the minds of our children, it's really bad. The same way that it distracts adults, it actually hurts children, academic performance, their ability to pay attention. If you have a government that plans to break the rules, what do you want them doing? You want them getting their polarized news through algorithmic social media. You want them to have the attention span of a dog wandering in nature. And so we're feeding you laptops. We're feeding you educational tech that we know doesn't work. We're buying the media organizations that feed you your news. We're pushing into your hands things that allow you to access social media and encouraging you to stay on it because we share real information through it. It's all connected. And who are the big donors to the presidential campaign? Who does he have sitting behind him at ceremonies? All the software companies like Meta and Google.
Yeah.
Like all the companies that are in tech that are feeding you this stuff. They're feeding you the devices and they're feeding you the content. And they want you to be outraged because that means you'll stay longer and they can sell you more ads.
Just essentially keep scrolling. And I also think, on the other side of this, what are we not paying attention to?
Justice.
Yes, I was jokingly going to say like ICE officers, but that's just one example. And so like you were saying, how many things have come and gone? Like universities are still under attack. Our kids still can't read good. Like we're missing out on, I think instead, important conversations that could be had about women still can't get abortions, which means people are still dying. Like we just, on to the next shiny thing. And so I want us to think more about how to be more intentional in terms of what we consume, but also what we give our time and attention to. And yes, people should be informed. Yes, you should know what's going on. But, devoting hours and hours to just being outraged does nothing for anyone's causes. And so I think instead of, consuming social media about the Epstein files, I would rather spend that time, working on things for my kids' policy committee for the school board, or thinking about community organizing, or supporting other causes, or actually doing something that's going to make a difference to someone somewhere. Go volunteer, the Boys and Girls Club, whatever it is, right? Instead, we get so worked up. And I think that it's another trend that we need to disrupt. And I think instead we should think critically about what we're seeing and, hey, how do we address this issue, not just be
I think your point about involvement at the local level is really important. I know you were just doing a little bit of flex because you're on the school board policy committee in Columbia, Missouri. However, I think it's a really important point to emphasize and to kind of sit with for a little bit. Your ability to affect change in the political system, as broken as it is really amplified the closer you are to your home. And so local involvement as a conduit to, one, just being people who care and have a perspective that's really dedicated to making things better in the room. Like that's always going to be better, but it's also a place where you can have an impact and see the fruits of your involvement a lot faster.
Yeah. Questioning our systems and our policies, thinking about, like you were saying before, kind of jokingly, but not, like, how do we talk to our kids about, yes, you want to be informed, everything, you don't need to consume everything, right? And like not be overwhelmed. And so, yes, we're being distracted and the outrage machine is working overtime to keep us scrolling and reacting instead of thinking and doing. And so I do want to take a step back and maybe think about how do we analyze these situations and how do we analyze these systems? And how can we learn from something like, what's going on with the Epstein files in a way that moves us towards informed action?
Now you're going to make me put on my professor hat.
Yes.
Oh, well, I think the way that all the oppression around this stuff is intertwined kind of immediately points your eyes toward critical frameworks.
What do you mean when you say oppression in this case?
So if you operate in a system where it's clear that numerous aspects of your social address compromise your ability to participate in the society, or for the systems of the society to work for you the way that they work for other people, then I think that feels like oppression. And if you're thinking from a tactical standpoint, what the Trump administration has done to galvanize their base, a lot of it is really related to making people feel like they're oppressed. So if you can make a white man from a certain part of the country who might be disinvested from the political process feel like they're being oppressed, and the reason that they're being oppressed is because all these minorities and women and gays are participating in the political process, and you can get them to come out and vote, and you could convince them that meritocracy works, or at least that they should let you do what you want and have what you have because you've earned your millions, then you can literally change the world. You get the base out, and I think it's connected to what they suppress. So if we look at what's going on right now with the White House, and we don't even have to tell the Obama story. So the recent posting, and because you were talking about rage baiting, and I was like, I don't want to fall down this rabbit hole because the last thing that I saw online that I was
Rage baited over.
genuinely engaged with and felt heat in my chest of upset, more than I anticipated. Because I think there are things that happen sometimes when you feel like you have an outsized reaction to it. Like I remember, I had experience like that when Kobe died.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
Yeah,
because
I remember
like
that.
me and Kobe are not homies. But like
no.
yeah.
It felt like a thing.
When Kobe died, I know where I was mentally and emotionally. We were in the early stages of like kind of figuring out co-parenting and doing the Jack and Jill stuff. Like, what are we still doing together?
Oh.
And I felt like at that time, Kobe, even though he went through all his controversy and, the Denver, Colorado, and
yes,
right, beating that case on the court, that he had transitioned out of basketball and he was happy he had figured out what the contributions he was going to make to society were next.
Yeah.
And he used his wealth and influence and resources to spend an inordinate amount of time with his daughters, especially the one that was taking up the family business of basketball.
Yeah.
And so I felt like I could relate to that so closely. I was just thinking about like, what if I was enough that nigga that me and my daughter were taking helicopters to soccer practice? Like, I'm not you peasants driving, right? And so he died in a helicopter crash with his daughter, like on the way to play basketball. Like that, to me, it just felt so, I could feel myself in that. Not the helicopter part. At least not yet. Y'all keep listening, subscribe, like, share. But, right, like I felt like I could really relate. And so the Obamas being depicted as monkeys and apes. And I was like, it's such a offensive thing, but it's also so common. Like it's such a common racist trope.
It's
like,
just crazy
monkey.
Coming from
But you're the
president of the
president
United
and it's
States
coming
of
for your
America.
account. And then they got on TV and they
and
tried
then they were
to
like,
justify
it's
it.
a joke. What's the big deal? Oh my God, we don't even see color.
They got on TV and they tried to justify it. And I was like, this is how racism spreads. When you normalize it at the highest levels, it becomes the voice of society. It becomes okay. It's
people
crazy.
Are looking at us crazy. Like
it's crazy. And I was right in the trap.
Yeah, I saw that and was like, I'm gonna go watch Becoming again. That's actually what I did.
But even that, they're tampering with Becoming. They relisted it as a different type of movie. Like there's so many controversies. There's so many games being played. But it takes me to what we were talking about earlier about critical race theory, because one of the things that you attack is one of the things that would help people see clearly in what's going on today.
Oh, in terms of understanding, like
just
using
understanding
the
what's going on. So you think about intersectionality.
Before you get into those, right? Because I do think it's important to frame and name this before we have a conversation, and everyone doesn't understand or know what critical race theory actually is.
I'll never do it justice in a...
No, we don't have enough time to like really get into it.
I can't. That's a lecture. We should actually do like a little lecture series. I think for the purposes of a conversation, you need to know that critical race theory is a framework or a series of framework. There aren't always necessarily tenets. Like people don't always necessarily agree on the tenets, and some of the tenets kind of have their own body of scholarship. So intersectionality is a tenet of critical race theory, but intersectionality
There's a
has
whole
its own,
other framework that has lots of literature and
and
theorizing
so, like,
behind it.
Some of the ideas are nested within each other, but if I were thinking about a broadly approachable definition of critical race theory, it would probably have something to do with the fact that race matters in American society, and there's almost no situation where it doesn't, but that what we're paying particular attention to is the intersection of race, law, social policy, and kind of just the general behavioral repertoire expected within social structures. So you're a member of society. Your society has certain ideas and opinions about race, about how society should be organized. And those ideas are proliferated throughout all the systems of society in such a way that they're almost invisible.
Right. It's such a structural part of the systems that we interact with every day that we don't see it. Just because you don't see something doesn't mean it's not there. Like oxygen.
Yeah. And I would say, too, part of the bad rap that critical race theory gets is you can use it as a weapon in ways that I've seen kind of for good and for bad. You know, so if you have somebody that's like, I am a black woman, you can't tell me anything because of the intersection of my identity. Or if you be like, I am a black gay man, and so you couldn't possibly, right? Like, people try to use their identity as a cudgel to silence other people.
Yeah. And that's problematic.
In response to having been silenced, obviously, but yeah, it just doesn't
hurt people.
Yeah, and like we don't want to use it in a circular way. So I also feel like it's important to note that critical race theory is a framework that anybody can use to analyze society.
Yeah,
and it has great utility for white people as well.
So I was just gonna say, you know, like even when I think about the situation surrounding Epstein. And, you know, there are all of these files and all of these documents and emails and pictures and so many people who are part of it. And some people are like, oh, well, how does something like this happen, right? And if you think about the different tenets of critical race theory, you know, one of the ones that I'm like, well, and you mentioned intersectionality, these are white, rich men.
Wealthy
men, not rich. You're right. There's a difference.
Yeah.
These are white, wealthy men who were also involved, again, in social, political, economic positions of power. So when you add those things together, it's not surprising that they're able to get away with what they get away with. You don't run in those circles. You don't have the money or access that they have. And like, who's going to check me, boo? These are people who can pay for secrecy. These are people who can afford to and have enough connections with other people to protect their secrets. These are people who us common folks and regular people want access to.
You know what we call it in CRT? Interest convergence. Oh, I feel like there should be Pee-wee's Playhouse. If I get these Jones off, like, interest convergence. Right? So we ask ourselves the questions, right? How would CRT investigate this? I think that's something we can think about.
Yeah.
We can approach it in that way.
Yeah.
Or even, I feel like it's like a dissertation consultation. We're like, hey, you said critical race theory is your theoretical framework. But it seems like none of these questions are about racism or power or privilege.
Yes.
How's that work, Playboy?
So like to your point about entrance convergence, because again, everyone may not know what that is. Really, it's thinking about who benefits from decisions or circumstances. And so a common one, let's take a step back from the Epstein example, is like the civil rights movement. And people are like, oh, we solved racism. And it was like, that was economic, mostly.
And it was because we were being used.
It was economic. And because there was going to be a benefit to white people, they're like, oh, okay, we'll do this thing. Like it.
I think the World War is the example that's most easy to chew on, right? So you're a black soldier for the United States Army and you're overseas fighting for America, and you come home and you can't sit at a diner table or they're sicking dogs on you because you want equal rights. It destroys the standing of the United States in the eyes of the world and all the people that they're trying to impose policy and democracy and freedom on. So it wasn't just about economics. It was about the way you look in the world. You look nuts.
There can be multiple things.
Yeah.
I mean,
and
but,
so like
yes,
the interest
point
convergence
is, it's not just about the thing. Like there are other
We're going to do this
interests
because we are interested in how it affects us.
in these ways, right?
Yeah.
It's the convergence of interest around a certain situation or policy or decision.
And the suggestion that the only progress that has been afforded to minorities, especially people of color, is because of interest convergence.
Yes. Like, oh, well, it benefits these groups as well. And so, yeah, we'll do it.
So who benefited from Epstein being connected and protected for so long.
So many people. I mean, I think that that's also a concern about not only who he was connected to, but how accountability failed so spectacularly in this situation. Because essentially, and it feels like we're going through in this current situation where the people who would be responsible for investigating him are also the people involved in the shenanigans.
Interest convergence.
So I think there are so many questions and so many bigger things to think about, right, than just the sensationalism of what's in the documents. And one of the reasons why I can't engage and why I know for my own sanity, like mental health and well-being, is also because children are involved.
Yeah, I think that's a difficult one. I mean, I think that signals and connects to kind of where we want to go from a parenting standpoint. But I also think we have to sit with the fact that they don't want our children to be able to analyze society and like see it clearly. Because that's what they rely on as predators.
I mean, there is someone who said, like, I love the poorly educated. And by educated, I don't mean formal education necessarily, but just that, your ability to think critically, to take in information, analyze the situation, make a decision, to respond and react in a situation. Like, all of those are skills that need to be developed, and they don't just happen.
They don't happen, but it's also like part of us not naming them appropriately. So even to close the critical race theory piece, we talk about intersectionality or we talk about whiteness as property. Part of what we're teaching our children...
Wait, you just said whiteness as property. I don't know what that is.
Well, so whiteness itself, like one of the ideas in critical race theory is that whiteness operates like property. Like, you own it. You would be injured if somebody tried to take it away from you. It's something that you could transfer to somebody else, like
it has value.
Intergenerationally. Yeah, like it has a value. It has an intrinsic value. Just being white has value in and of itself. And so, is it any surprise that the intersection of identities, ding, wealthy white men are able to get away with all this stuff? When we just saw Diddy get railroaded.
This part.
And we just saw, well, it took a long time for them to get R. Kelly. But
still.
They had the wealth, but they didn't have the white.
They did not. And they were like, you going to jail.
Yeah, like your intersectional identity is not enough to get at. So like
for a long time.
But that's exactly another critical race theory expectation is that like that's the system working the way that it was designed to work.
Yes.
There's a different system of justice and accountability for wealthy white men than there are for
you peons.
Anybody else. Exactly. Peon is a reckless word to use with R. Kelly. That proximally, I need you to chill. It's the remix to Ignition. One of the catchiest songs.
And again, thinking about children, like I do think it's important, and we can let this be maybe the last point, that when I think about the conversations that I have to have with my children, for example, and the things that are important or valuable to pass on, we'll joke about stranger danger, and I'll say to them, like if I'm leaving the house, be like, yo, don't get kidnapped. Absolutely.
You're like my mom, yo. She'd be like, drive defensively.
Yeah.
Like, fam. Like,
I'm going to be really explicit. Keep the door locked. Don't get kidnapped. You should tell your kids too. Don't get kidnapped.
What kind of farewell is that, Playboy? I feel like you're speaking kidnapping attempts over them. Like,
I say I love you first.
Yeah, I was like, I love you.
Because I love you.
Don't get kidnapped. I don't want that to be the last words my children hear from me ever. I love you. You should end with I love you.
But
just in case they get kidnapped. Like, the last thing. Imagine that. Imagine the last thing you said to your child before they got kidnapped.
And then they got kidnapped. Exactly. Yo, I'd be like, what did I just tell you though?
Yeah, and then they end up in the Epstein files.
Stop.
Yeah, like this is the.
No, but so it's interesting. One of the things that I was reading after, thinking about this case is how parents are socialized around talking to their children, or not socialized around talking to their children about safety and danger and bodily autonomy and all of these connected issues. And not having those conversations is something that can put your children at risk. Like that in and of itself can cause harm. And so, I know that growing up, we did not have real conversations about,
because you weren't allowed to have body autonomy. That's a very early thing. Like, if you have to hug and kiss every aunt and uncle.
Do you know, I remember when Maximilian was little, and so in a Haitian Caribbean household, like you greet people when you come into a room or when they come into a room, especially if they're more senior. You greet everybody. You know, you embrace, you hug, you kiss, you say hello. That's how we were raised. And you know, me and my progressive newfangled ways, I was like, if he doesn't want to, that's okay. Yo, you would have thought that I suggested that everyone sprinkle arsenic on their food.
You shot a puppy.
In front of the whole family. Like, the way that they responded to that was like, why?
You're trying to kill our culture.
Why? Why would you?
I think way too many things get swept under the rug of tradition and culture generally. And I think that's that's a reinforcement point for some of the danger of like Trump normalizing racism through the White House.
And sexism.
Yeah.
And sexual abuse.
We are normalizing the most dastardly things.
It's really concerning.
And by not pursuing accountability aggressively, what message are we sending?
We talked about this before. Our kids have access to so much more than we did. They are on the interwebs, y'all. Yeah. Like, you may not think that your kid is doing whatever. They are. And if they're not, I've learned their friends are. So you have to have these conversations regardless.
There was a whole show. Is To How to Catch a Predator, is that still a show?
They did a special on Roblox.
Yeah, they used to be getting cats. Like,
Chris
they be in
Hansen
chat rooms trying to get people.
He's like, listen, my work here is not done.
He needs to do a social media version of that.
He did. He partnered with the guy who was catching the Roblox, like, adult predators, even though Roblox was like, we're kicking you off of Roblox for doing our job for us. And this guy shows up at the house and he sees Chris at the door and he goes, man.
Yo, he knew it. He did a swipe or no swiping.
He did a swipe. Oh, man. And he's like, I have a job. I think he might have said I have a wife and kid. And they were like, should have thought about that before.
Yo, that is some different level of accountability. And like, how do we sick them on the president?
But it's also...
Donald Trump should have to walk into a Chris Hansen house. If he was doing any of the stuff that you would assume by association, complete regular association with this man.
Yo.
Chris Hansen should be waiting in the White House, sitting in his seat.
Nasty. I just some of the things I've seen and heard, I want to just bleach my entire brain.
One of my frat brothers uses that as a meme. Yeah, like, I think the last time he used it was like the Dallas Mavericks after Anthony Davis played 4 seconds for them.
He was there for like literally a hot minute. But yeah, so I do think it's important to have these conversations with our kids. And I think they're also important to be obviously age appropriate, but there's never, I think, not a good time. So one of the other things that, the research is pointing to is the fact that parents will defer having these conversations because they think, well, my kid's not old enough and they can't understand or they're not mature enough. Or, well, you have a sex talk at school.
Yeah, it's not enough.
And I'm like, first of all, these talks are...
They're Luke. The kids would refer to them as mid.
Mid. These talks are mid.
Yeah.
And again, it's school. Like, you're dealing with a large swath of kids who come from a lot of different backgrounds. Like, that's not the kind of conversation you can have meaningfully.
That's actually a concern of mine, too. And I don't want to derail us too much, but it's so important to have friends and friends of the opposite sex so you could have real conversations and, like, you can triangulate information. I worry right now about, like, just the state of friendship generally. Mm-hmm. But, like, what are kids telling each other about all this stuff when they don't have access to real conversation, or if they don't have parents that are teaching them above and beyond what's available in the curriculum?
I mean,
because then you just leave them to experimentation. Then it's like, hey, the only way I learn is by doing.
And it's still important to learn by doing.
Yeah,
but some things you don't have to learn.
You got to be careful.
You don't have to learn. You don't have to do and learn that lesson, right? Yeah. Like, I do think, conversations about and Epstein is an extreme case, but there are ways that people could be abusive, coercive, unsafe in your everyday life. That doesn't require...
I think that's an important topic. So I remember that from being a residence hall assistant, being an RA and being a residence director. So all the different tools of coercion that people use, it's they're giving you gifts, or the little micro things that you need to be able to pay attention to. Because it's love bombing is a version of...
It is. And it's interesting because these are not conversations that I ever had. And so...
Oh, I had those conversations.
I don't know what that is. And if you're coming from a space where you don't have meaningful conversations or explicit conversations or discussions about dating or relationships or power dynamics in relationships or the way that people treat you and what is grooming, right? there's so much that you're just leaving up to chance.
Yeah.
And I think that, when I think about the boy and the girl, the two older ones, I know that I can't live life for them.
Yeah.
I can't make these decisions for them, and I can't protect them from everything. But if I'm doing my job as your mom, I'm going to make sure that I can give you information that you can use and that's valuable.
So there was some, when we were doing show prep, you had some of the warning signs, and it's like some of the foundational things that people should be paying attention to in situations related to coercion. And I just think it's worth going through some of those. Yeah, like one on the list was, teaching your kids the warning signs that they should be paying attention to. Like one of the first and most important ones, especially if you have younger children, like pre-adult, is be wary of anybody who is trying to figure out whether and how you keep secrets from your parents. Like, I think that's a big one. And it's one that gets used. I've seen it used. I remember being younger and being like, why is this old dude talking to Shorty? Like stuff like that.
Like, yeah, something about this doesn't seem right.
Because, like, so if somebody's trying to test your loyalty or test it, like, oh, you're not going to tell anybody. Or like, oh, you probably tell your parents everything, don't you? Right? Like that they're trying to
discern whether or not.
Yeah, like that's something you should be watching out for. That should immediately have your hackles going up.
I think one of the other ones, and this one was, thinking about like middle school age kids, so like 11 to 14, is manipulation tactics. And so you mentioned gifts, and I think that's a good one, special attention, or if people are trying to isolate you from your friends, from your family, oh, they don't understand me like I do, or, oh, I care about you so much, here are these things that I'm giving you. And interestingly enough, it took me, how old am I? 42 years old? 42 years of life to realize like, oh, I was in a relationship where this nigga was like kind of unsafe. And these bitches, whoa, fix your face.
Am I surprised? Wait, did we say we're doing March in the City? Is that?
Thank you, Michael.
Oh, well, no. Go ahead. You have to tell the story now. It's obviously a teaching story.
So, okay, this is, post our separation and divorce. And I was dating someone, and this was, actually, I'm not going to add any caveats. I was dating someone, and I liked it because there was excessive attention. And I was like, oh, this is nice. Like, yay for my bruised ego. And they would buy gifts. I have them because they were nice gifts. Like Louis Vuitton and like Gucci shades and, lots of attention. But there was this element of like, oh, but I don't like it that you're talking to this person. Or I should be the person that you do everything with. And, I've experienced it. So now I know, and I can have these conversations with our kids.
There's many more things from the list from that relationship.
Hold on. And would it be grooming?
It's, hey, you shouldn't talk to anybody except me.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Isolation. I said that.
Yeah. Here, take this thing. Oh, I'll do that for you. And then you'd be like, well, what does this person do for a living? What?
Oh my God, Michael.
Like, how's that
I was not naming names.
Oh, I didn't name a name either.
Yes, you did.
Somebody would need to have a whole lot of additional information.
Not really.
Well, then we'll bleep that out. However, I will say, when I think about any type of, one of the hard things, and I think that this is actually a full circle like tie into the warning signs, is that when people are being manipulated in that way, they often don't know that it's actually happening. And so teaching somebody to recognize it before they're in it.
Yes.
Or before they're like emotionally vulnerable because they just came out of a breakup or they just got out of a marriage, where it's like, oh, all these otherwise problematic behaviors feel like exactly the type
it's like,
of
oh, this
attention
is,
that I need to heal.
I'm going to lean into it. What flags? But, some of the important things is that at the end of the day, we want our kids to have healthy relationships and to know what that looks like. I think that's, it's also why we choose to co-parent the way we do.
Yeah.
Because we know it's important to model for them what healthy, positive relationships look like. And that they don't have to settle for or accept behavior from anyone that isn't appropriate or that they don't feel comfortable with. And so, and we'll share resources for having these conversations and talking to kids about these things in the show notes. And it's often uncomfortable, right? Like if you haven't been socialized or trained in that way, it can be very uncomfortable to talk to your kids about relationships and sex
and even if you have, your kids can make it uncomfortable, right? Because I'm ready to talk. I'd be like, "Yo, what's up?" But no,
dad, stop being an op. Such an op, dad.
It's like, bro, like I'm trying to give you a game, son.
That's literally what he says.
You're like, you know how much easier the game would have been if my dad was around to be like, "Listen, she's only yelling at you because she likes you."
Oh
right? Like, Like the ones that try to tell you what to do all the time,
What are you trying to say?
those are your joints. Go forth and flourish.
I do think though, and you made the Margin City joke, but these things do apply to adults as well. And I think about, we're on the dating apps and trying to meet people and wherever you might be in life, if you're looking for, companionship, partnership, company, whatever, the same thing applies, right? Like people say kind of crazy things in text and I'd be like, ooh, that feels questionable. Thank you for your time. I don't think this is a good match. Goodbye. But some people can't recognize those flags. Like they don't see them. They reinterpret it. And it's
What
like,
is that? What is the little
girl,
Asian
no,
comedian
run.
with the glasses?
With the glasses.
What is her name?
You gave me nothing.
She's an Asian comedian with
Ali
glasses.
Wong?
Yes, you
Okay.
just turned into her. And I was like, we started just channeling her cadence. I was like, what the?
No, thank you.
Double take?
I didn't know what she's talking about though.
Little quick character transformation.
But I do think that these conversations are important at any age and at any level. And I think it's important that we acknowledge that these things happen, and not to say that you need to be afraid of the world, but I do think it's important that we are smarter about how we engage and the messages that we send to our kids and our friends in this case about, hey, like, maybe that's not a good idea. Maybe you don't want to approach it that way. Like, or let's talk about this some more, right? Like, what are you thinking? What are you feeling? Let's talk about why. And so, I just think that having been in situations where I've seen flags and also not seen flags, and this red flags, by the way, like, oh, this is questionable, not good. Like, that might be an indication of something that you should be
Red flagless.
you should be cautious of.
Oh, wait.
What?
I did get you an iPod.
Oh my God. That was like 100 years ago because you said iPod.
It was the little Jones.
And it's green. But no, I do really think that I just hope that we can learn lessons and think critically again about the things that we're consuming. And instead of just giving our energy to outrage, how can we use what we're seeing and experiencing to have more productive, meaningful conversations, whether amongst ourselves, with our colleagues, peers, friends, with our kids?
Yeah, I think the first thing is be intentional.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so be intentional about what gets your attention, what gets your time. Pay attention to how much you're on your screen. Pay attention to the fact that you touch your phone and you're in Instagram before you even remember what you were coming to touch your phone for in the first place.
Yeah.
Intentionality, measuring. If you need some additional support, like getting those apps that block things or like turn certain apps off for you.
Yeah.
After you reach a certain time limit, like intentionality is really important.
And I think that, while education and like intelligence and critical thinking are things that are under attack, I think important to look outside of our lived experience to find information that can help us think more critically about the world. And so we talked about critical race theory specifically in this episode, but it's not the only one. And they're really useful for making sense of what we're seeing, what we're experiencing, and how we can act in ways that lead to better decisions and engagement later on.
Yeah, I think it also expands your brain. So it's pretty easy to see from your vantage point how society is working against you, but exposing yourself to different flavors of critical race theory, like Lat crit, Asian crit, you can really get a deeper understanding of other people's oppressions, like the other ways that the system is failing them.
And also positive frameworks, right? Like we're, mentorship models or, there's so many things.
Self-efficacy.
That can help us.
Belonging.
To.
Self-determination theory.
Do you have any more?
Oh, I got bars. You want me to?
No.
Don't want me to. I'll have you going. If you want me to
go
theory
ahead.
off.
Give me another self-determination theory. That's a good one.
Person, environment, fit. You're trying to deactivate me with laughter.
You're welcome. And I guess lastly, just, having uncomfortable conversations is not the end of the world. At least we have them.
You need to have them. And a lot of the progress that you want for yourself is on the other side of an uncomfortable conversation.
And for your kids.
And they're great resources. We'll share Crucial Conversations. I teach that book a lot of years.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I think it's just a good foundation. Like if you're avoiding a serious conversation, if you're failing to interrupt people when they're saying crazy things, if you're not holding people who you know are obviously doing wrong, one of the themes of our episode, accountable, it's probably because you're not willing to have the hard conversation. But those hard conversations are how progress is made.
So thank you again for joining us on the Parents and Professors podcast.
It was great having you guys. Peace. If this conversation resonated with you, do us a huge, huge, huge favor. Like the episode, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and follow us on all our socials. I actually be going crazy on Instagram, so that's the best one.
And please feel free to drop a comment below. Tell us what you liked, what you hated, where you'd like us to dig deeper, or even if you think we missed something. We're always learning and growing, and we want to make sure that we're creating content that resonates with viewers like you.
And most importantly, and this is a huge one, if you know somebody who could benefit from hearing the conversations that we're having on this episode, please share. Sharing is caring. We're doing this for the love and to build a community because it matters.
And at the end of the day, that's the most important part, creating spaces where we can have real, honest conversations about the things that matter to you: education, parenting, relationships, and everything in between.
So thanks for being part of our community. Go check out the catalog of other episodes if you haven't. And we look forward to seeing you next time on the Parents and Professors podcast.